50,000 attendees to the event itself.
It's like a geek Glastonbury, isn't it?
Geek Glastonbury, yeah. yeah.
Hello and welcome to Off Script. Today we're talking about James's trip to reInvent in Vegas.
So I'm back from reInvent in Vegas after a week of living in a casino, basically.
How did that go?
Well, I slept for about 12, 13 hours last night.
Wow, fantastic.
It's good.
Jet lag hit you hard then?
Yeah, I thought I'd dodged it, but I was getting up at 5 a.m. every morning and doing the advent of code, which has been quite nice.
Yeah.
Because that's when they get released. But now I'm back. My body's gone, nope.
And you've hit a wall.
Yeah, basically.
Well, first of all, thanks for getting me involved in advent of code.
That's quite right.
I'm very excited to. I needed a little something to distract me from the chaos of Christmas, and it's done a very good job of that.
Yeah, it's nice just to bosh out some actual code before all the politics starts, isn't it?
Yeah, before work, do a little bit of coding.
Yeah.
So how was Vegas?
Vegas is incredible. It's always amazing. It's kind of like an adult theme park, isn't it?
It looks it.
It's not where I would choose to go after being a few times, but me and the missus went once as a holiday, and that was good. And then that was before I got invited to go as part of the AWS Hero program. So they send me there and put me up in a hotel and get me a flight and stuff. And then I say nice things about AWS, but that isn't actually in the contract, but it's sort of implied, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if you start smack talking AWS, it probably isn't going to go very well for you, is it? So.
Yeah, well, the thing about AWS is it's so all-consuming, and they have so many products that some of them are going to be bad, some of them are going to be good. I think the big thing for me at the moment is the blurred line between Elastic and serverless, and I think they're getting tied up in knots over it as well, like their own product teams.
Yeah.
Like, is it really serverless if it takes 2 minutes to do the first request or something like the serverless RDS, Aurora stuff? No, probably not. That's more Elastic for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, where does Elastic autoscaling end and serverless begin? But yeah, I think despite all that, there are some pretty cool things that they've announced.
Yeah. So it was quite. Was it 3 days? 3 days worth of talks?
3 days for the main sort of thrust of the event, but there's loads of stuff happening on the Monday and the Friday as well.
Nice.
There's the replay party. But yeah, the actual time in Vegas was really nice. I ate very well. I tried to get when the event was in full swing. I tried to do like loads of fast food places.
Yes, I saw you because you're posting on Instagram your kind of daily diet. I was
basically
hugely jealous. I was sitting at home with like a warmed up meal from last night, and you're showcasing the best of American fast food.
I've never had a Popeyes before. That was really good.
So is that like a burger place or
fried chicken sandwich with pickles?
Oh.
It's Anthony Bourdain's favourite guilty pleasure.
Fantastic.
Was, and he used to love the really sort of nuclear yellow mac and cheese. So I had some of that.
Why is it so yellow?
I don't know. It's just got fake cheese powder in it.
Brilliant. Cheetos or something like that.
Yeah, I had some of that. That was really good. Did a Wendy's, which was fine.
That's an institution in America, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I was like, I've got the Baconator, and it wasn't that bacony for me.
Oh, that's really upsetting.
Yeah, it's kind of like Burger King level. It's
that's
I'm not like, or maybe I don't know. Maybe I just got a bad one, but
I think the thing is for me, like the Five Guys, with bacon in it is quite bacony. So you've got something to live up to, really.
Yeah, and Five Guys got real meat in it and stuff.
It helps, doesn't
it? But then topped it off with a load of restaurants. Yeah, lots of Mexican stuff. Yeah, nice. It was really, really nice.
So did you make some conference pals and kind of stuck around with them for the duration?
Yeah. So met a few people from the UK. Met Adrian from Leeds. It sounds daft to go halfway around the world to hang out with somebody in your local city, but we went to a nice TQ bar and
just desperately looking for someone with a Yorkshire accent.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you get a bit Americaned out sometimes, but you need to see some British pals and it's good.
So what size of is it? It's massive, isn't it?
So they take over basically the whole strip. So every casino has something AWS happening in it. The main venue is the Venetian, and then all the ones next to that, all the way down to the Link, basically, are all part of the AWS campus, they call it.
Right.
50,000 attendees to the event itself, but there's all the after parties and unofficial things. So there's the Cloudflare, they put an after party on. Datadog.
Nice.
Anyone who's anyone will have something going on.
It's like a geek Glastonbury, isn't it?
Geek Glastonbury, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's surreal because you're sort of like in this party place, but then it's just full of white male nerds.
Okay, so the diversity quota needs a little bit of work, possibly.
I think it really does.
Yeah.
I don't think they've nailed that.
No.
But yeah, it's good. It's a good thing. They were putting on like charity events and things like that as well, and they're trying to get more conscious around their impact on the environment, which kind of jars a bit with the whole Vegas thing, because it's like lit up like literally a Christmas tree. And,
I mean it's a bit tongue in cheek with the energy crisis in the UK at the moment.
Someone was doing some maths around my flight alone is like 50 times what I'd usually spend like in a year in terms of carbon footprint or whatever.
That's quite a stark. I mean, especially when you're doing talks on green engineering and things like that, overlaid with the fact that it's probably not the most eco-friendly destination or kind of way of doing it.
I feel for them though, because I can't imagine now that it's got to this size. I can't think where else they could do it.
The thing is as well, I think as that conference has obviously grown over the years, and there's obviously a lot of things that do work for it in Vegas. So you kind of, I guess Vegas is part of the kind of soul of AWS, right? reInvent. So
yeah.
I guess moving it, if they did, I'm sure they'd get equal criticism for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of jars with their sort of frugality mindset because Vegas is anything but that. Like you, if you want to get a burger, you struggle to get it without gold flakes on it. It's like that kind of place,
right?
But yeah, I mean, it's a good party, isn't it?
If you want a gold burger, go to Vegas. So tell us about how it went then. So the main talks for you started on Tuesday, was it?
That's it. Yeah. So Adam Selipsky's talk, his keynote. Basically just announcing Redshift Serverless.
Right.
So
that's big.
Yeah. So big sort of data store. You can spin it up without much heartache. You can put loads of data in it, but they're really pushing this zero ETL thing.
Right.
Or probably end up calling it ETL-less eventually. But it's just really difficult to get massive data sets into databases, and AWS seem to release a database every time you blink. So they've got this whole idea where you can point it at the data and it'll do all the ETL pipeline stuff for you and just ingest it all.
Right.
Which is great because then you're spending money with them and it's all your data's in there. But that's the ball ache, right? That's the difficult bit.
So is the idea there that your ETL is split up into many different serverless functions? How have they done it? How have they broken it down?
So as I understand it, you can just point it at some bucket and it'll ingest.
Right.
But there are obviously other ways you can do it. You can have lambdas transform the data as well and do all that kind of stuff.
So ETL stands for extract, transform, load, right?
Yep.
So in terms of the actual transformation side of things, how do you configure transformations on the data?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to.
I didn't know you didn't. Sorry.
But I assume it would be through lambdas and other things. But let's say if you've got all your data in Aurora, you can do a few clicks and move it all into Redshift.
Oh, right. Wow.
So you can just sort of haul your data around without...
That's quite powerful considering the scale of that data could be quite mega, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So automatically you've got kind of portability of huge data sets there, moving that around, I assume with much less overhead than, normal bandwidth charges to transfer between services and things like that.
Yeah, that's it.
Nice. That's pretty big. That's a pretty cool announcement.
They've also got new products around data management. So one of them is called DataZone. And it's basically a way of tracking where all your data stores are, both within AWS and externally.
Oh, right.
Because obviously data is split, everyone splits into sub-accounts. It's hard to find what's where and when it's last updated and all the rest of it. And the lineage of that data. So let's say you've got your source of truth and then you ETL it into something else and you process it and you do some other gubbins to make it work. And then someone else might make another data set off the back of that. Maps out that tree of...
That's really good.
Where stuff is.
That's fantastic.
Because that would usually be somebody updating that in a a chart or a graph somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
and hopefully they update it.
Well, the interesting thing there is how that ties into, because you have responsibility as a data processor or controller, especially when you get into situations like subject access requests for data and things like that.
Yeah.
That lineage is really important to understand how you would facilitate requests for information from users and things like that.
Oh yeah, you need to know what you've got where in order to do that, and it's obviously security risk as well, having data all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks really cool, and it ties into Redshift, Athena, and QuickSight.
Right.
So if you've not seen QuickSight, it's basically business intelligence. So it's like Microsoft BI or like a dashboard product, and you can just sort of point it at data, and it'll graph it out, and you can make dashboards. You can interrogate it. They added a new feature called QuickSight Q,
right,
which is an AI assistant, which you can just say, let me know which customers signed up in March that have gone on to do X, Y, Z, and it'll smartly look at the tables and the data you've got in QuickSight and try and figure out a query that does that, and then make a dashboard for you. It is very, very cool. That actually makes QuickSight really useful. Not that it wasn't useful, but it's way more useful.
Nice.
And then they talked about AWS supply chain. So I don't know tons about supply chain stuff, but this seems like a bit of a tangent. Like it seems a bit of a departure from their usual. But it helps you track the supply chain of physical things, which is especially important given, COVID and the war and things like that. I don't know how any of this stuff works, but you'd usually a company, like we work with big companies that have these big lumbering ERP systems. I think it's like a little step into that ERP world, which could be pretty massive.
That's interesting. I mean, obviously, Amazon itself must have a huge amount of logistics behind this already. So is it just surfacing some of that already?
I wonder if they've built this out based on what they've built internally. Yeah. Like it's their own, they're scratching their own itch and gone, actually, someone else might need this.
Well, if it works for Amazon, which is the biggest shipping company in the world, it's probably going to be okay.
Yeah, well, it totally makes sense for them to do that, because they already let you use their like shipping part or their warehouse bit, or you can use like little parts of Amazon.com, can't you, in your own e-com.
That's interesting, because if you look at how other kind of innovators in this sort of space, Shopify, for example, and Square and Stripe and everything, starting to really expose a lot more of that kind of low, no code infrastructure to create businesses.
Yeah, so this sort of brings it all the way back, further back than the actual sales channel, right through into manufacturing and sourcing materials. And
that could be crazy, couldn't it?
Yeah. So a thing that I don't know a lot about, but it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that's quite mad. Well, that's just creating more dependence on Amazon's infrastructure, which is obviously what they want, and it obviously works very well.
Yeah, that's it.
Interesting.
Wednesday was Swami's keynote, again talking about fully managed databases, and they've got a new product called AWS Glue Data Quality.
Right.
So AWS Glue is a way to sort of glue different services together and move data around. The data quality thing, it helps make sure that the data going between those services is vetted and correct.
Okay. You mean like to conform to a schema, or like
conform to a schema? It could be detecting errors, computing statistics, recommending quality rules.
Oh, nice.
The whole thing around like data lakes becoming data swamps is basically when you chuck all your data into this data lake, and then one of the ingests goes bad, or something happens, or I don't know. Yeah, you want to keep an eye on the data quality coming in.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because there's been many occasions where that data lake might contain unstructured, very raw kind of formats of data, but it still needs to be data that's workable, right?
Yeah, and you need to see when the quality changes. But yeah, that looks pretty cool.
Nice.
And then he talked about the new geospatial capabilities in SageMaker. So SageMaker is their sort of AI ML in a box platform. You can make Jupyter notebooks.
Oh, right, nice.
And they've got this machine learning model that will make machine learning models for you. It's like so you give it some data and it goes, why don't you try this model? And basically, like use AI to make AI, which is nuts. But the new geospatial stuff's pretty cool. So they were talking about how people can use it to predict natural disasters, manage relief efforts, navigate roads using satellite imagery, using pre-trained geospatial networks. All over my head, but sounds pretty cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, fantastic buzzword bingo there.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just wake up in the morning and you want to navigate a road with some natural disasters on it. But yeah, sounds pretty cool. And then he again sort of reiterated the DataZone stuff and how that sort of works with governance and making sure that all your stuff's good and in the right places. And then Thursday, Dr. Werner Vogels, he is a very, very smart chap.
Okay.
He's the CTO of Amazon. I think I mentioned before, but me and him went on a Harley bike ride.
You did, yeah.
Which is the most surreal thing ever.
Completely normal thing to happen
in
Vegas.
So I got a selfie with him, which is nice. But
I'm glad you came back alive from that as well, because I was very concerned.
So he had a proper Harley, and I just had the trike, which is basically looks like a giant lawnmower,
but it's slightly safer.
Yeah, ever so slightly safer. You struggle to tip off it, I think.
Well, luckily you didn't, and you came back in one piece.
I did,
so that's good.
But yeah, he was talking about parallelism and concurrency and event-driven architectures. But yeah, he famously was behind the whole DynamoDB stuff. So basically made Amazon go on this microservice path. He gave Cinch a shout out, which is a car startup. All the tech for that is built in Leeds.
Yeah.
And headed up by a chap called Adrian Hesketh at InfinityWorks.
Nice.
Designed a lot of this event-driven architecture. And he said to me while we were in the tiki bar, the reason he got into event-driven stuff is because he came to a talk that I did on Lambda, which is nuts. So it's gone from me chatting rubbish about Lambda to him designing something actually really good to then Werner talking about it in the keynote at reInvent.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Not that I'm taking credit for that. Mine was far less exciting.
And you're not upset that you didn't get any credit at all?
No. Adrian got me a tiki bar once. I don't know what they call zombie, isn't it? I'm still recovering, as you can tell.
To be fair, in Vegas, I'm sure that was at least $30, so that kind of counts.
Exactly.
How cool is that, though? You know, a Yorkshire-based or a Yorkshire-created piece of technology's got a shout out by the CTO of Amazon.
Yeah, the Cinch stuff looks really, really cool, and how they did it sort of iteratively, and
Yeah, I've been speaking to a few people from Cinch lately, actually, and it's super interesting what they're doing. Nice. So that was the keynote for Thursday, was it?
Yeah, he did then mention AWS Application Composer. I don't know if you've seen this.
I haven't, no.
But it's pretty cool. So you can have some YAML that sort of describes your infrastructure, and then you can flip to design view, and suddenly it's a flow diagram and it's got all the services on it. Or you can go the other way. You can drag stuff on, connect it all up, and it'll make your infrastructure YAML off the back of it.
That's quite cool.
It looks pretty cool. I've been chatting to some AWS people, and they're like, "Yeah, this is really scratching an itch."
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it looks like could be cool. I use Cloudcraft at the minute, and Cloudcraft is a more visual tool, and then it spits out the world's worst Terraform, which doesn't make any real, it doesn't really help you. Whereas this actually looks good. It looks like it could actually really work.
It's super interesting that, because we've made such an effort to create infrastructure as code and everything that we've kind of made it inaccessible in some ways. So that's a really interesting tool.
Especially if you just want to quickly go, this is what it might look like.
And
map a load of stuff out.
And not hack YAML apart.
Sometimes you can just get lost in YAML, can't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, really, really cool conference. Lots of good talking points.
So we're going to have to, first of all, someone needs to have a word with the person in charge of product branding and naming. I was okay with 0ETL. I was okay with QuickSight Q. But when it came to SageMaker, I lost my mind a little bit.
Yeah, the names are a bit interesting, aren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, good event all round. I managed to sneak into the Brewdog Vegas launch, the pre-party.
That looks so smart.
James Watt was there, a few meters away from me.
Nice.
Giving out free Elvis juice. So
did you have a beer or two?
Yeah, I might have had a few too many beers. I didn't feel too clever the next day.
No, I can imagine. What day was that?
That was the Wednesday.
Oh, so Thursday was a bit hairy for you then.
Thursday was interesting.
Nice. Well, at least you got to see the new Brewdog launch.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, all around good event. Probably drag some people along to it next year.
Yeah,
but that'll be good.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I've never been to Vegas, so maybe that's one for us to go to together next year.
Yeah, could be good.
And thanks for bringing back all the American food that I can now eat.
No worries. Don't eat it all at once.
I'll try. I think I'd be very ill if I did that. Cool. Thanks, Ria.
Thanks very much.
So that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for listening. Please hit subscribe to get more episodes in the future, and we'll see you next time.